Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Good morning, Representative. Good to see you.
I appreciated your comments earlier. You a number of times referenced the 3 school districts in Lancaster County that have embarked on this open campus initiative. And this is just a tremendous program. We appreciate your support, the department's support, to ensure that state government is not in the way and allows for this innovation. So I know you have visited the campus, have visited and toured the program, and we appreciate your support for this program that's making digital learning opportunities available to students in 3 school districts, breaking down the boundaries that exist between those school districts, customizing individualized learning, providing greater curriculum choice, and breaking down the barriers of space and time. And so my question for you is, can you provide any more details how Pennsylvania plans to expand additional digital learning opportunities under this budget? Yeah,
Representative, I'm really excited about where we're going in education in this regard. And your 3 school districts have really stepped up to the plate, and they looked at a different way of doing things educationally. You're not. I must say that's thinking in other places. I was at Lebanon High School where they actually, and we provided some seed funding with them, and they actually reached out to some foundations and got some private funding to mix it together so that they have actually a different classroom in some of these schools where it's a blended learning environment where a teacher is teaching a small number of students. There's also teachers who are online in one section of the classroom, another group of students who are teaching themselves in group instruction in another, and it's going fabulously. I was very impressed with what I was seeing. Their issues are expansion. In the open campus situation, the open campus program they wanted to move out to more subject matters in different grades. The same thing that happened in the Lebanon High School situation. So we're moving in this direction as educators. That's exactly where we're going. To put a little capstone on it, because it focuses on the individual child. It's an instructional approach that focuses on the child. So on the Passport for Learning initiative, that's one way that we believe that we're going to accelerate this initiative by providing these funds to school districts to help move this forward more. We've actually folded in some of our Race to the Top, federal Race to the Top funds as well to help school districts do the online component so that we can offer up more online courses around STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, so that they can get those potentials. And in addition to that, with the waiver provisions that the mandate relief provisions that we're looking at, we don't want to have the school districts have to come to Harrisburg because they have a great idea and need a statutory change in order to put that great idea in place. So we're looking at ways that we can put down those barriers and allow those school districts to really expand the horizons for children.
And I thank you for that and appreciate your work in this area. Can you also discuss how you believe these expanded digital learning opportunities will increase student achievement?
Absolutely. You know, in education, what we've done is we've gotten embedded with an idea around clock hours and seat time and other things as far as Carnegie units are concerned, how long you sit in a classroom, what you learn, rather than competency. And in competency-based learning, it's actually measuring what the student knows, and once they've reached a certain level of academic achievement, they're competent in that subject matter, then they can go on. And we don't always do that in education. You know, we get to a certain point that, well, the student has attained all the knowledge and they don't have the opportunity to go on and get more. Through digital learning, through other areas, through hybrid instruction, we think you can expand opportunities in language. Let me give you a very specific example of language. What we do a lot in our public education system is that we hire a specific teacher of a specific language, with Spanish, French, and we put that in the school. And so it's so the students have exposure to a Spanish language or exposure to French language. And the way that you went to school, I went to school, that was the limit of exposure to language, was based upon what type of teacher was in the classroom. There's no reason in the world through digital learning that you cannot have access to countless languages, Mandarin, Chinese, Italian, any type of language for any student in Pennsylvania. So this is an exciting threshold that we're on. Difficulty is that we're caught up in fundings and regulations and certificates and attribution questions that go back to that old system I was talking about. Some school districts are stepping out, and we're trying to help them along. We still have some rocky situations that we're going to just will have to adjust. But instead of saying that those challenges are there and we shouldn't do it, we're saying these are the challenges. What can we do to move ahead?
I'd like to also ask you about the transition from the PSSA to the Keystone exams, if I can. In recent years, there's been some discussion about the cost of the assessment and the value of those investments. And I understand that during this school year, the 2012-2013 school year, the Literature, Algebra 1, and Biology Keystone exams will replace the 11th grade Reading, Math, and Science PSSAs. Why do you consider the Keystones to be a better assessment model than the 11th grade PSSAs?
Well, 11th grade PSSAs were a snapshot in time and often tested students in subject matters that they hadn't had for a couple of years. And it really wasn't a reflection of what they knew in those subject matters. It wasn't as accurate a reflection. Keystones are end-of-course exams, what are called end-of-course exams, so that you take Algebra 1 and you take that assessment at the end of the year that you take Algebra 1. It could be 8th grade, it could be 9th grade, whenever you take that exams. Same thing with literature, same thing with language arts, same thing with biology. What we're trying to do, and we looked at these subject matters, and this has been a process in place in Pennsylvania under two administrations now. We looked at these subject matters and tried to find out what do students need when they graduate from high school, regardless of what they want to do in high school. I was at a CTC, I was at a career tech center in the Lehigh Valley, and I toured the welding department and talked to the welding teacher there. Same thing with the dental hygienist department. And they were talking about the importance of Algebra 1. And that the students, when they graduate from high school and they want to be a welder, they need to know Algebra 1 and that critical role. So we looked at these key subject areas as the way to do it. By making an end-of-course exam, it more accurately reflects what students know or don't know in these subject areas.
Am I correct in understanding the cost that we've had for the 11th grade PSSA will be eliminated?
Well, that's correct. As a matter, and thank you for bringing me back to that. The 11th grade PSSA was in place for a number of years. We're moving to eliminate the 11th grade PSSA. We had to administer the 11th grade Keystones in place of the 11th grade PSSA this year, simply because the feds told us to do it. We went to the feds and we said, we don't want to do this. This doesn't make any sense for all the arguments I was just making that it was a couple of years after this. And they said, no, you have to have an 11th grade assessment. So many students across Pennsylvania took the 11th grade Keystone this year. This is a one-time event only to meet the requirements that the federal government made us do.
In conclusion, I just want to also compliment the department on the work done thus far in the implementation of the teacher evaluation. We had some discussion of that earlier. Thus far, the department has done great work in my mind, as we appreciate the feedback provided by a number of the school districts that have been part of the pilot program. I know there's been some discussion about charter reform and teacher effectiveness as it relates to charters and cyber charter schools. I just want to make a quick comment and then ask a question. The comment would be, at the time we began work on this legislation, it was my view then, and it's my view now, that teacher effectiveness is important as it relates to charters and cyber charters. I believe it should be part of any charter reform legislation. Anyone who is working on a comprehensive charter reform bill, I'm happy to work with them, work with the department on that evaluation tool. Charters were not included, and I don't believe should be included in the particular portion of the school code where the teacher evaluation language was added into statute. The rating tool for teachers is scheduled to go into effect on June the 30th of this year. Are we on track in terms of the implementation for the teacher effectiveness by June the 30th, excuse me, and then the principal evaluation?
Yeah, I do believe in it, and thank you for your leadership in this over the past year and a half. This is one of the big structural changes that we're making in public education, and this, as I've said in many occasions, occasions, many times, that this will drive more improvements in instruction than anything else. And I'm excited about the potential. It's not a unique thing, by the way, in Pennsylvania. It's something that's happening across the country. So we are on track for implementation for this coming school year. We have reached out an awful lot to people within the field to help get them engaged in this program. You know, there's many difficulties that we've addressed over the years. We've got a lot of great minds working on it. We've got a lot of field input. We have many strategic partners in the field who are giving us guidance on how to implement this, and I'm very pleased to see the progress we've made. Thank you, Representative.